Welcome everybody to another planning guide for the month of October and November. Now we've already covered October week 1 and 2 in my last video. We actually had October week 1, which is Glaciella, come out this week. And then next week is the Dark Tetrasylphid Esper. So we already have talked about those. You can go look at my opinion if you want. But what we're going to talk about are the next 2 weeks of October and then what November is going to look like. And you can see that on the graphic up on the screen. Now, I'll make it big for a second here so we can kind of dive in. But the big thing here that we have to keep in mind is that we don't know when Halloween is coming. So I looked at the last year's Halloween and it came during the 4th week of October, which is where the Chunak VC would be. However, the year before that, Halloween came in week 3 of October, which would be next week, which is Chunak and Rivelka. Now we're actually going to find out tonight, but I wanted to do this video now, and I don't think it really makes a difference, because what's going to happen here is that you get the information on everything that's coming out, and then you make your own opinions about what you're going to be saving for or not. So, if you have a comment about how this isn't the order that you expect it to be, that's lovely and good for you. It doesn't really matter. You're getting an information of all the things that JP got in the order that they got them, and then you can do with that what you will. So we are expecting that this year there will be a new Halloween unit, where I think the thought is that it's going to be a Lucia unit, possibly fire. I mean, we don't really know, but there was a Lucia hint for JP. We should actually find out this week in JP, which maybe JP will get it a week ahead of us and we'll get it the week after, or maybe we'll have a late Halloween. I don't know. But at the end of the day, this is what it kind of looks like. There's lots and lots and lots and lots of non-limited stuff here. So it's a good saving period, except for when the eventual Halloween comes in. So let's talk about each week one by one. All right. So maybe tonight we're going to find out that we're going to get a free MR Rivelka and a UR Chunak coming out. We'll talk about Rivelka first. She is a free MR Energist, and she is a fire element. She has innate ice killer. It makes her, a nice little ice counter. We'll talk about who soon, because she has a very high innate missile resistance. So, ice missile sounds like Eliza, and also sounds like Alaya, who is coming out soon enough as well. She also has physical reflex, as Energists tend to have, and she can even imperil missile and magic resistances by 20%. This comes at a cost, though, because she doesn't have any penetrations of her own, including spirit penetration. Now, she can get some from her Kododelma sub with a TP skill, and her weapon also has some as well, but there's no passives that actually give it to her innately. She also has a job level 25 skill, which is 2 hits, single target, and has a full dispel. So really, it kind of looks like a well-rounded kit for an Energist. You got your 100% hit as well, and some decent stats because of that Energist passive that gives you some magic, agility, and dexterity. Gonna be a decent counter to Ice Missile, but the fact that she doesn't have any penetrations means that she'll have trouble with any sort of tank that she runs up against. At least she can imperil and use 2 different attack types. That definitely helps out quite a bit. And then we have Chunak, who will be a 90 cost water unit. She is a fencer like Halloween Frederica, who's also coming back pretty soon here, so that's kind of interesting. He is an evasion and crit unit, and his TMR is a cloth that has an attack and luck buff. It's good to see more TMRs have luck buffs. You can mix and match in how you want to get some extra luck to your evasion units. He also has a skill that gives him 30 defense and spirit until he's hit twice. So hopefully he's not getting hit much at all, because he is a evasion unit. But even if he gets hit with a 100% hit, it shouldn't kill him, because he has this big defense and spirit buff. He can also break barriers. He can dispel protect, and he can even break defense. He has access to a 50% slash pen on his job level 25 skill, so obviously he's going to be using that pretty quickly as long as he's in range, and otherwise he has good defense penetration but not a lot of slash resist penetration. But once you get that skill online, he's going to be in a really good spot. Plus, you'll see his VC coming up in a sec here. He also has a big single target imperil on his LB. It basically means that he is going to be a killer PvE unit, because he's got speed, he's got chaining, and he's got these imperils and penetrations, etc. He is also going to be a very solid PvP unit. However, because he's a 90 cost non-limited unit, it just means that unless you're super into him, it's probably best to be skipping him. On the 4th week of October, we're either going to get the Halloween banner or the Intersecting Destinies Water VC. Now, this is a VC for Chunak. We'll probably have some global upgrade for Chunak, but the bestowed is 15 slash attack, and the party effect is 35% luck, 10 crit evasion, and then 35% slash resist penetration, which is a very, very good VC for water slash and also for water evasion. It's very strong for Chunak specifically, which it helps because it helps for both of his things. It has 4 agility, raw agility on the VC itself, so it is a really good pull for water players and a skip for non-water players. This fits so many teams and so many units that I think that most water players should want to pick it up unless they're really patient and want to get it later. Then we move on into November, and at the very first week we could possibly get Alaya, who will be a 100 cost ice unit. She's an attack based gunner, and she can even reduce her own movement by 1. So a lot of people put the producer's bow tie onto their gunners to keep them out of the range of other units, keep them back a little bit. She can do that on her own, and that is a really solid ability. Now, she is a, line of sight gunner, which means that she can hit allies or, have things in the way of her moves, but that's not a huge deal because she just looks really, really strong. So she's got a solid agility TMR. It's an accessory that gives attack and also nullifies status effects. She's got high range. She's got acquired AP up and AP consumption down. So I think there's definitely a chance to build a non-bells build, but honestly, putting bells on your gunners is usually a good call. She can also inflict lots of status effects, including charm. She has like a charm shot, immobilize, and then frostbite, which she has an increased chance to inflict frostbite. Frostbite is better as well because now at the beginning of the turn, when you get hit with the frostbite, AP lost, it happens first rather than after your turn. So it's really taking away people's ability to use their AP skills. She also can break barriers to spell protect, remove re-raise, and even imperil missile resistance, which is actually very, very interesting. So huge PvE implications there that she's able to do that. And that doesn't mean that, she doesn't have any missile resist penetration, because there's also some of that, accessible to her on her kit. It's not innate though, right? So she doesn't actually have any innate missile resist penetration, but she does get it through her kit and then through other sources, including a VC that we're going to see very soon as well. So she's got a physical reflex, which when it procs, it gives a 30% attack buff, but she also has regular reflex. So, I mean, things are pretty good. She also has a chaining LB with a high chance to immobilize, and if it immobilizes the other unit, it also ice imperils them. So we have ice imperil and missile resist imperil, really, really strong. Ranger sub has Braw's sharpshoot, pretty standard. Paladin sub has Saintly Wall. She's a very strong ice unit, lots of power, lots of utility. We said that she doesn't have innate missile resist pen, but she does access it. And I think that I would recommend any ice player to pick her up. She's also a very good entry point to ice. So let's say you're watching this video, ice is not very strong on your account, but you think, oh gee, I really like Alaya, she looks great. Then good news, you can go pick up Snow right now, and then you're going to be able to pick her up too, and you'll have a very good entry point into ice, especially because the VC coming up here is good for them as well. Now, Snow's banner's on for a while, so you have some time to decide, but definitely a very strong unit. 100 cost, non-limited, of course, but I think we've shown that if those units are going to make an impact on your account, it's worth getting them right away. But if you think that you won't use them as much, then yeah, you could just wait for them and get them later. Week 2 of November is going to bring a bunch of VCs, so we'll talk about each and every one of them. The first is Beloved Peace, which is an ice-only VC. The bestowed is 8 agility up, and then it has 20% pierce resist on the party and missile penetration 18%, crit evasion 20%. Really solid card for ice. Penetration cards are always tempting, and the fact that you get some pierce resistance is really nice because that's kind of hard to include in a team typically. If you wanted to put like Leviathan in your team, just because if you're not a water team, you're not really reaping the benefits of that card, and it's just hard to tech against one attack type, but at least you're going offensive here too. Plus, you're getting the crit evasion. The VC also has 3 agility on it, so I think Alaya and Eliza players will like it. Other players could skip it. Other ice players that haven't gone the ranged route could actually skip it, but it is a very solid VC. Now we also have the Delicious VC, which is an MR water only VC. It comes with the tetrasulfide raid, and it has a bestowed 8% HP up and 8% crit damage up. It also has 15% AoE resistance, 9% crit rate, and 30% acquired AP up. Now this is pretty underwhelming considering that we have the Ramada VC and Holiday Party that can do those things in water and more. However, it is an MR card. It's a free card, so it's not supposed to, displace those cards. It's going to be excellent for limited formats like the limited guild battle that we had recently. It's just not going to be like a card that will see play if you can actually use UR cards. Then we have First Step to Glory, which is a free VC that was given out to JP players for a special day. And this is a really solid UR VC because it has the 50% acquired JP up, which we see on bestowed all the time. But then the party effect is 25% HP up and then 25% machine killer for light units. It's a very nice free card. This is an absolutely massive card for free players because HP up 25% is just such a good effect. It's a really good sub VC because you get so much of that 25% on it. So I really hope that we get this. I hope it's not exclusive just to JP because new players that are trying to get their account started, it's really going to help them out. And even experienced players like the acquired JP up, it's good to have more of those cards. So, definitely really solid. Love the art too. Very fun to look at. Hope we get it. Week 3 in November is going to be Yual, which is an Earth Strike unit. It's a new main job that she has, and she's got a really interesting TMR because it gives a 30% HP absorbed to the user. So basically, whoever uses it can then start healing themselves whenever they attack. Yual has very high slash and missile resistance. She is a slower unit, but she's very bulky. She has physical reflex and also an LB that dispels and even refreshes her AP. She has 2-use courage, which you love to see, and she can even use a TP skill that allows her allies, including herself, to dispel courage. So that's very, very high utility there. She can break barriers. She has high defense penetration. I think it's like 70 or 80% that she can get really easily. She can reduce counter chance, break, agility, and AP. So when you look at her, she's a very decent unit for a 90 cost non-limited. It's still likely going to be skipped for a lot of units. However, I think that she's one of the better like strike units that we've ever gotten. Her major demerit, aside from the 90 cost non-limited, is that she's an Earth unit, and that's not me saying that Earth is bad. It's just that it's a tough element to use. It's probably, I would say it's even harder to use than fire at times, but it is still a strong element. So do with that what you will. Now, technically, there is a 5th week in November. We're not going to go that far because I usually just go for 6 weeks in these videos. We're just doing week 4, and that's going to be Yual's VC. And this is a very important VC to think about because it is not restricted to elements. It's restricted to certain equipment. Now, when you look at this on the warofthevisionscalc.com, you're going to think, like certain jobs get it, but it's easier to say that certain weapons get it. So this is Beyond the Flames, the bestowed effect, which is for everybody, is HP 5% and then attack 20%. So that's a really good bestowed ability, and the fact that it's for everybody and it's not limited means that you can mix this card in more easily than you might think. The party ability is for gun, fist, and staff users only. So any single unit that has those jobs is going to be good to go. And the party ability is physical man killer 30%, crit evasion 16%, and missile resistance 20%. So these are very strong VC effects. We're getting the high-end numbers for multiple stats, which is not typically what we get. And the downside is that it's a very limited VC in terms of who can actually take advantage of it. But the party effect allows you to plan for offense and defense. You're getting 20% missile resist, but you're still getting like top tier 30% man killer for physical attacks. These new types of VCs are going to be very difficult to skip because you never know when you're suddenly going to want one. At least with a VC that's for water units, I know that I'm personally not going to pull for it. I can leave that and I won't need it down the road because I just haven't built water on my account. But with this, I totally have fist users, gun users, and staff users. I might not use this on a lot of them, but What if down the road some more staff users come out in fire, or some fist users come out in lightning, like whatever it is, and I suddenly want to use this VC? That makes it really tricky not to pull for it. Now, I do want to say that most staff users, I think all staff users, are magic attackers, and this is physical man killer. So this is more of the case of, you have you could stick this onto a healer or a party that, like, really the staff user is going to get the defensive part of these cards, and they're not going to really worry about that physical man killer. But the other fist and gun units, they will want all aspects of the card, which is certainly something that you want to consider. After that week in JP, they got the swimsuit Helena unit, so we might get her at the end of November, or maybe we'd get some other sort of, global surprise, some other sort of limited unit. Then they got Dark Ramu, they got Charisse and Lisette, and then it was the Dragon Quest Tact collab. So we're going to have a period of non-limited units, interrupted by Halloween, and there'll be some saving time before December. Late November, December is when we're expecting another period of limited units to start coming out again. All right, so that's going to be it for this planning guide. I hope it was useful for you. I'm very curious what people are saving for. So for me personally, I'm hoping that the Halloween unit is a fire unit, and then I would pull for them if I have enough Visior. Otherwise, then I hope it's like something else, like an ice unit, something I can beat up on with my fire units. It's not going to be an ice unit, obviously, but then I'll be saving all the way till Dragon Quest Tact. So lots of saving time for old Mysidia, but I want to know what you're saving for, what you're excited for. I know this is a period where lots of people will be saving, but it doesn't mean you can't have a goal in mind, and that's what the kind of the point of these videos. So I'm gonna get out of here. Let me know if there's any other things I could have mentioned for people, any sort of tips, and then otherwise I'll see you all in the next video.